Welcome to Nikki's Nightmares, where chilling tales come to life. In today's terrifying story, we descend into the haunted world of abandoned playgrounds and cursed parks, places where children once laughed, but now only the dead remain. From ghostly swings that move on their own, to drowned spirits wandering creeks at night, to shadow figures stalking forgotten trails, these encounters reveal the sinister truth about the places built for play and the restless souls trapped beneath them. If you love scary stories, paranormal encounters, and true horror experiences, you're in the right place. Make sure to like, subscribe, and join me as we delve into the deep, the dark, and the mysterious. The Haunted Playground. I grew up in a small mountain town called Briar Ridge, quiet, tucked away, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. At the edge of the woods sat an old playground that had been there longer than most of us had been alive. When I was little, maybe 5 or 6, it was my favorite place in the world. I remember the twisty slides, the crooked wooden bridge, and the metal monkey bars that baked in the summer sun. Back then, the place was alive. Toddlers came in the mornings, kids after school, and bored teenagers at dusk. The playground sat in a clearing beside a thin stream, wrapped in trees that always seemed to whisper. There was a single green water fountain too, ugly, old, and heavy. I ran into it when I was 6 and knocked out one of my front teeth. I still remember the taste of blood and rust. But everything changed over the years. The laughter faded, the wood rotted, the metal rusted into jagged teeth, and the deaths, those never stopped. People started calling it the Haunted Playground, and eventually the stories became impossible to ignore. The first kid I remember dying was Eli Warner. I was in 3rd grade. Eli was small, with chestnut hair that bounced when he ran. We played together sometimes after school, just harmless kid stuff. Then one Monday, my mom told me he had gone to heaven. I didn't understand. I'd seen him at the swings just a few days earlier. Years later, I learned the truth. Eli had been found hanging from the swing set, right above the seat where I used to sit. A year later, Marisol Vega died. She was shy, sweet, always wearing a red ribbon in her hair that was frayed at the ends. I remember one day we collided at the bottom of the slide. We lay there tangled, staring at each other, and I felt something strange, like a flutter of warmth before embarrassment kicked in and I ran off. My mum used the same phrase. She passed on. I didn't question it until I hit high school. That's when I found the old article. Marisol had been taken to the park by her father, an alcoholic with a violent history. They found her floating in the stream behind the swings, hair tangled in weeds, skin bloated, her ribbon still tied to a chunk of root. Her father was arrested 2 days later. After that, more kids died, 1 every year or 2. Always near the playground, always under strange circumstances. Families stopped visiting, the town stopped maintaining it, nature swallowed the place whole, and that's when the sightings started, swings moving on their own, footsteps across the old wooden bridge, children laughing deep in the trees, and the worst rumor, the sound of bare, wet feet slapping softly through the woods. I didn't go back to that playground for years, not after Marisol, not after the others, but last year I made a mistake. I went back with my girlfriend at the time, Lena. We were walking under a bright moon, talking about nothing when we reached the dirt path leading to the clearing. I don't know what came over me. Maybe nostalgia, maybe stupidity, but I grabbed her hand and led her down the path. The playground looked smaller than I remembered, overgrown, silent, unsettling. We sat on the remaining swing set, talking quietly while insects chirped around us. The air smelled like damp wood and something sour drifting off the creek. Eventually, we started talking about the deaths, the rumors, the sightings, and as soon as the words left my mouth, something changed. The night got heavier. Still. Then Lena stiffened. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I listened. At first, nothing, just the stream, then a soft patter, like tiny footsteps moving through leaves. "Probably just an animal," I said, though my voice cracked. A few minutes passed. Then Lena jerked to her feet. "There, again!" Before I could respond, the old water fountain behind us groaned and sputtered to life. Water burst from the spout, overflowing the rusted bowl, spilling down the sides. We stared at it. Neither of us moved. Then the footsteps came again, closer this time, small, uneven, wet. "Hello," Lena called. "Is someone out there?" No answer. Only the sound of water rushing from the fountain and those tiny, soaked footsteps. Then everything stopped. The water shut off. The woods went silent. Even he insects stopped their chorus. A thick dread settled over me, and then a child laughed behind us, high-pitched, joyful, wrong. We froze. Lena's fingers dug into my arm. Slowly, we turned toward the tree line, and she was standing there, Marisol Vega. Even though her name had been scrubbed from my childhood, I knew her instantly. Her long brown hair dripped with creek water, tangled with weeds and tiny bugs. Her skin sagged, pale and swollen. Her eyes, once warm and shy, were glazed blue, staring past us like she wasn't fully here. A sick grin stretched across her face. Her teeth looked too small, too sharp, and black water oozed down her chin. She lifted one trembling hand and pointed at me. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just moved. I grabbed Lena's arm, and we sprinted toward the path. The sound of that awful childlike giggle chasing us all the way back to the main road. We didn't stop running until we reached the gas station near my house. We never talked about what we saw. Lena refused. We broke up a few months later. I haven't been back since. I never will. Because the stories were right. The children who died there never left. And at night, they still play. The Civil War playground. I never believed a playground could breathe with the past, until the night I saw a swing move with no one sitting in it. I grew up in a quiet place called Hollow Bend, a town stitched together with Civil War history and whispered hauntings. Folks always talked about strange sights near Marrow Ridge Park, but no one ever mentioned why the ground there felt colder, heavier, like it remembered something the rest of us had forgotten. One night, around 12:40 a.m., my friends and I wandered into the park out of pure boredom and the kind of curiosity you only feel when you think nothing bad will actually happen. The moon hung low, brushing the playground with this sickly silver light. The old metal slide glistened like a blade. The seesaw creaked even though no wind touched it. And the swing set stood stiff and still, like it was waiting. As we neared the baseball field, a cold wave rolled over us. Our breath turned white. We joked it off, snapped photos, hoping to catch something creepy we could laugh about later. But then my friend Marissa stared at one of the pictures and went pale. Behind us, just beyond the fence, was a faint, human-shaped figure. Too tall, too still, as if it were watching. Before we could process it, our other friend, who had stayed back in the car, yelled across the lot for us to run. She swore something long and shadow-thin had been trailing behind us, gliding instead of walking. Instinct kicked in. We bolted. Every step felt like something cold was reaching for our ankles, waiting for us to fall. When we finally reached the parking lot, I made the mistake of looking back. That's when I saw it. One swing, just one, was moving, slow, steady, pushed by hands I couldn't see. The rest of the playground sat dead still around it. The drive home blurred together, but the sound of that empty swing cutting through the air echoed in my head the whole way. The next morning, I needed answers. I dug through old town archives until I found a yellowed newspaper clipping. Marrow Ridge Park had been built directly over an unmarked Civil War burial ground. Dozens of soldiers laid to rest with no markers, no records, no remembrance. Restless dead. And then came the part that still twists my stomach. When I returned to the park in daylight, the swing set only had 3 swings. There was no 4th swing, no place for the one I saw moving that night. It shouldn't have existed. That's when it hit me. We didn't just brush up against ghosts. We stepped into something older, a thin seam between this world and whatever still clings to that soil beneath the playground, a place where the dead never quite left, and where phantom swings still sway for the ones who never made it out of Hollow Bend alive. The Spirit Trail. I remember the night too clearly, the night I decided to hike Comanche Lookout long after the park had closed. It was just past midnight, that strange hour when the world feels thinner, when things on the other side seem to press a little closer. Raven's Watch had a bloody history, territory fought over by the Comanche tribe, the Apache warriors, and a scattered line of old militia who once tried to claim the ridge. People said the spirits still guarded the land, that they never left. But I'd had paranormal encounters before, and the thrill always outweighed the fear. I thought this would be no different. I was wrong, dead wrong. The rain earlier that day left the pavement slick and black, reflecting what little moonlight broke through the clouds. The trees on either side of the trail weren't shapes. They were shadows stacked on shadows, leaning in like they were listening. As soon as I stepped past the first bend, the air changed. Heavy, breathless, a pressure that sank into my bones. But something pulled me deeper. I kept walking, though my instincts screamed to turn back. Every nerve felt stretched thin. My skin crawled, not from cold, but from that primal knowing that something is watching you, hunting you. Then I caught movement in the corner of my eye. No sound, no wind, just a shape slipping between the trees. For a moment I thought it was just my mind playing tricks in the dim light, until it happened again and again. Fast, dark figures gliding through the woods without disturbing a single leaf. My heartbeat slowed into something heavy and painful, my feet rooted to the ground. Then it hit me. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded. Dozens, no hundreds of shadowed silhouettes moved in the tree line, not stepping, not walking, darting, watching. My breath froze in my throat as their presence pressed in around me, cold and ancient. I felt eyes on every inch of my skin, eyes full of warning and rage. I shouldn't have been there. When my body finally obeyed me again, I ran. I don't even remember turning. I just remember the pure terror, the weight of something behind me, the feeling that if I slowed down even once, they would close in. The trail felt endless. My legs burned, my chest clawed for air. But when I finally burst into the glow of the empty parking lot, it was like emerging from another world. I dove into my car, hands shaking so violently I could barely turn the key. Even with the doors locked, I felt them at the edge of the light, still watching. This happened years ago, but the memory stalks me. Even now, when I think of Raven's Watch, I feel that same cold dread creep up my spine. I will never go back. Not at night, not during the day, never. And I'm not the only one. Hikers report the same things: shadow figures slipping between the trees, the thump of distant drums, and sometimes a lone figure wearing what looks like a ceremonial headdress, standing perfectly still on the ridge. The protectors of that land never left. They're still there, still watching, still guarding what once belonged to them. The story ends here, but the terror does not. Join me again. Like, comment, and subscribe if you dare.